Happy Wellness Wednesday. Today we're talking thyroid health. This is a big one and one that impacts so much of our health and well-being. Just want to make sure that I'm live on all platforms. Yes, we are awesome. Say hi, let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, so I've been having this conversation with a few people of late about our thyroid and how to actually tell if there are potentially some imbalances happening with our thyroid. Now, there are so many roles that the thyroid plays in our health. So our metabolism, so it's going to contribute to weight gain. It helps with our temperature regulation. So, if you feel like or sensations, if you feel like you've got, hey Holly, if you've got cold, if you feel like you're cold when you shouldn't be, or you run hot, or you've got tingliness in your extremities, maybe you've got really low libido. Potentially you're feeling really tired, especially in the mornings. Maybe there's like that brain fog. You feel like there's just something there, and it's just really, really struggling to think, to concentrate. Hoarse voice can be a sign, because your thyroid's this little gland right in here. It's in your throat, and it actually dictates, as I said, a lot of things, and it dictates a lot of your hormones as well. And there's a direct link between our gut health, our stress hormones, and our thyroid, which I'll talk a little bit more about a bit later on. So you may be experiencing some hair loss, and I've been speaking to a lot of new mamas lately that are like, is this normal? Because you can hold on to a lot of hair while you're pregnant, and then after pregnancy you can start to lose hair. Is it thyroid? So how do you know? So we're going to go through that tonight. Maybe it's about dry hair or dry skin, brittle nails. Maybe you hold a lot of fluid. And these can be signs and symptoms depending if you've got an overactive or an underactive thyroid. So typically, if you've got an underactive thyroid, you think of more things like depressive, and really low, and fatigue and things like that. And overactive, think of everything in like overdrive, and more of that anxiety and rushing, and maybe lower weight. Whereas if it's sluggish, you might be holding more weight. Bowels, maybe you've got issues with your bowels. Period issues, as I said, depression or anxiety, fertility issues, and miscarriage. This is a big one. I was having this conversation with a friend on the weekend. 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage, right? And I'm like, well, what are the percentage of women that are actually going around with undiagnosed thyroid issues? You might have seen on my post, like 10% of the adult population are dealing with some kind of thyroid issue. And I actually think that's underestimated, because when we go and get our bloods tested, our bloods are based on the average Australian woman, right? It's based on an average. And let's say 9 out of 10 women go in with hormone imbalances. That's going to be the average. So the average may not actually be optimal. It may be suboptimal, but that's just what they've taken from the average of the Australian woman who's probably burnt out and overwhelmed and things like that. So sometimes we can't really look at those pathology tests. Like if you are feeling like there's something going on, you just can't put your finger on it. Maybe you feel like you're doing the right things, or maybe you're struggling to do the right things because of energy or motivation or whatever it might be. Keep pushing for results, keep pushing for answers, go to different health professionals to get these answers, because 10 out of 10 times, if you're experiencing some kind of symptom, there's something going on. There's, things just don't pop up for no reason. So these are just a lot of the signs and symptoms that we can experience when our thyroid is implicated. And perhaps you have been to the doctor and they've been like, nah, your thyroid's fine. It's all fine. Yes, it's good. Well, to be functioning optimally, we need our thyroid stimulating hormone, our TSH, to be around 1. That's optimal. Now the ranges, I had a look at my pathology before, it's between, like they're saying, between 0.4 and 3.5 is okay, but that's a big average, right? It's based on a lot of different women. So what we need to do is look at it being around 1. Now I know sometimes when we go to the doctors, they mainly just test for TSH, but that's only one marker of our thyroid, and we need to get the others done. I spoke about this a few weeks ago. the T3, the T4 are really important. But what can happen is that sometimes people won't test for the other markers until they get the TSH results back. But that could be fine, and the other results could actually be out. So really push when you're getting bloods done, if you're concerned, push for your TSH, T3, T4, and antibodies, because antibodies can actually show if there's something autoimmune going on. Like, is your body actually seeing your thyroid as a foreign invader, and is it producing antibodies to try and get rid of it? And so many different reasons that this can happen, but the three main ones I want to talk about tonight are stress, toxins, and hormone changes. They're the three main things that throw our thyroid and therefore our hormone health out the most. Stress, you guys know how much I harp on about this, but I will not stop, because it's the biggest epidemic that is impacting our health and our lives and is shortening it. And it just stress leads to so many other health issues and behaviors and just so many different things. So stress is a big one. Toxins. Now this includes mold. Mold is one of the number one things that can actually throw out. It's a biotoxin, so it can actually throw out your thyroid function. I'm a prime example of this from last year. Non-conventional, so conventional foods. So when I say conventional, I mean foods that aren't organic, so non-organic foods. What you're washing your hair with, what you're washing your clothes with, what cleaning products you're using, what you're using in the garden. If you're on a farm, what chemicals are you exposed to in the atmosphere on the farm? Like, all these things that we might not think about. I was chatting to my naturopath the other day about standing out the back of the house and smelling the chemicals from the crop spraying plane go over our house. We used to go over our house and we used to drink the rainwater from this house. So all of these things that we didn't really know about, like all these chemicals that are impacting on our lives. So it's about the cumulative effect as well. So 30 years ago, maybe we didn't have exposure to as many toxins. Yeah, maybe we had glyphosate and a few other things, but we were eating home cooked food, and we weren't having as many junk foods and processed foods and chemicals in our foods. But it's that cumulative effect that is having the biggest impact on us. It keeps getting worse and worse. So do what you can to decrease the chemicals in your environment. And then hormone changes, like obviously our thyroid, it's part of that endocrine system, which helps to regulate our hormones. So if we've got massive changes from pregnancy or giving birth or menopause or miscarriages, like they're huge changes of hormones, significantly changing, whether that's over a short or a long period of time. And so during those times of hormonal change, it can throw our thyroid out. So many instances of women that are dealing with thyroid issues postpartum and things like that. So toxins, stress, and hormones. So I have written a blog for you guys. As always, please make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, because it goes out ahead of time. You're going to be able to read through that. I talk about 4 different ways that we can actually support our thyroid. So I'm going to go through them briefly. There's more information on the blog post on my website. And some of these I've talked about before. You might notice that there's some overlap. So when I talk about hormone health, or when I talk about gut health, when I talk about what nutrients to have, stress, like it all overlaps, because our body works as a whole system. So what's good for one is typically good for the other. But I'll give you some more specific stuff. And you might have heard this before. Wonderful. It's validation. You might hear some new stuff, but I'll ask you to reflect on yourself. Are you actually taking action? Are you moving forward? Are you taking the steps that you need to take to improve your thyroid health? Because information is nothing without action. So food, I shared an infographic about this a couple of weeks ago, in making sure you're getting enough iodine, so from sea vegetables, and selenium from foods like Brazil nuts. So as simple as 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day, and a teaspoon of crushed sushi sheets, so nori sheets, or just have sushi. You can sprinkle them on salads or vegetables and things like that. So that's one simple way, because iodine and selenium are really important for your thyroid function. So they're two super simple things you can do. If you live by the beach, go and put your feet in the water, even just walk along the beach, because you will get that iodine from this. It comes from the sea, from the salt. So you'll get that from being near the sea breeze and the mist and everything. So if you've got a beach nearby, you've got the upper hand as well. Speaking of which, I need to get out there. Hey. Avoiding stimulants like coffee, alcohol, nicotine. So I mentioned before that our thyroid and our adrenals that dictate our stress response, and our gut, they're all intertwined and interlinked. So if we're throwing out our adrenals with stimulants and things like that, it's upsetting the balance. I know that sometimes we can rely on caffeine to get us through, but try a dandelion root latte. Really great substitute for coffee. I've got a lot of people that are moving off coffee to dandelion root lattes, and they're actually noticing that it's helping a lot. And it's also really supportive of the digestive system and liver. So win-win. I'm going to talk about gut health briefly because I spoke about that last week or the week before. I speak about it all the time. Last week with my coming off my antibiotics. So make sure you're getting a lot of foods that have pre and probiotics in them. Food for your bacteria. So a teaspoon of sauerkraut and or a probiotic if you choose is so the sauerkraut's the most affordable, easy way to get it into your diet. Sleep and stress. So lifestyle. Number one cause of hormonal concerns around stress. When we're stressed, we eat different foods that aren't as favorable to our hormone health. So let's look at relaxation techniques. So is tapping for you? Is alternate nostril breathing for you? Guided imagery, meditation, breath work. Like if you haven't tried these, pick one, Google it, find a video and give it a go and see what it's like for you. Even just 5 deep belly breaths before your meals. It's going to help with your stress. It's going to help you to absorb your nutrients a lot more effectively because you're in rest and digest. Lavender. Lavender oil is a great one to use to reduce anxiety that can often come with thyroid disruptions. So using that on your temples at night is really good. Magnesium on the soles of your feet. Get a spray it on your feet, or soak your feet in some magnesium flakes at night before bed with some lavender oil in it, tick, while you're doing your meditation. Perfect. Stack those habits on top of each other so it's not adding too much time. Instead of scrolling or watching Netflix, set an alarm 15 minutes before bed to actually do a meditation and put your feet or in some magnesium or put some lavender oil on or in a diffuser or something like that, because your nighttime really matters. Your hygiene, your sleep hygiene really matters. Bed before 10 as best we can when, we look at hormones are balancing between 10 p.m. and midnight. If not, setting up a regular sleep routine. So you're getting to bed at a similar time and you're getting up at a similar time is going to be supportive of that. And avoiding your technology at least 1 to 2 hours before bed. I mean, we know all these things, right? And if it was easy, we would do it. So think about, okay, well, what's the one little thing I can start with and how can I remember to do that? And schedule it in. Schedule it in to start tonight with that. So let's recap. If you guys have got any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer those. But we spoke about the 3 main things that impact on our thyroid, which shows up in a whole heap of different signs and symptoms. And maybe your bloods are showing that everything's fine. But we want to look at stress. We want to look at toxins and that cumulative effect. We want to look at our hormone changes, what's happening with our hormones. And obviously these Wellness Wednesdays are general. So if you want more one-on-one support, please make a time to chat, because guys, you know this is my jam and I love it. And I'm so passionate about helping you. So stress, hormone changes, toxins are the big ones. So we want to look at, okay, let's add in some selenium and some iodine, Brazil nuts and seafoods. We want to look at getting our sleep in check. We want to look at how can we, swing the pendulum the other way. So maybe you're swinging the pendulum all over this way and it's like stress, busyness, chasing kids, homeschooling, work, blah, blah, blah. The pendulum's over here on the stress side. That's fine. If you can't change that, what we need to do is we need to balance out the pendulum and start swinging it over the other side with some of the stress management relaxation techniques, tapping. mindfulness, meditation, alternate nostril breathing, whatever it might be. And then, of course, looking at supporting your gut health, because your nutrients are needed to support your hormone health, to support your thyroid. And if your gut's not absorbing those nutrients because you're in fight or flight, or because there's an imbalance of bacteria, which is caused from stress and foods we eat, then your thyroid's not going to be working effectively. So rant done for tonight. Huge passion of mine with hormone health. As I said, if you need support with this, please reach out. If you know a friend that would really benefit from listening to this, please tag them, share this with them, and choose your one non-negotiable that you're going to start with, and schedule it in, set an alarm or reminder on your phone, and just take that one step and continue that. Get really good with that for a week or 2 weeks, and then watch the video again and add another step on, because there's lots of information in there and in the blog. So head over to the website to check that out. Have a beautiful rest of your Wellness Wednesday, and I will see you all again next week. Bye, everyone.